What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to InvestQ Live. Tonight we've got a packed show. Oops, sorry guys, technical difficulties. I just dropped some of the equipment. 1 second. I also dropped my water too. Let me see here. Sorry about that, guys. Little technical difficulties. 1 second. So yeah. Anyways, sorry about that, guys. Again, as I was saying, welcome back to InvestQ Live. Tonight, we do got a little bit of interesting news, as we do know that this week in the stock market is going to be a very interesting week due to the fact that relating to some space stocks and artificial intelligence stocks. Now, one of the biggest developments we've seen in years, which was a big headline this year, was relating to OpenAI and how they confidently file for its IPO. And we're also going to be talking a little bit about space stocks due to the fact that SpaceX has their IPO that is coming up this Friday. Yeah, SpaceX has their IPO this Friday on June 12th. So we're also going to be discussing what that means for some of the other individual space stocks. You know, stocks like Rocket Lab, LUNR, Black Sky, Redwire, those types of stocks. And we'll break down as well the broader market, you know, things like semiconductors, treasury yields, oil prices, and discuss whether we're entering a new IPO cycle led by AI and old space economy. And of course, I'll answer any questions that you guys have, and I'll do my very best to inform you the best way that I can and keep the facts straight. And I'm not too good for corrections, so if any of you do see me slip up with some of the info I'm giving you, please let me know. I'm happy to correct it. Now, starting off, when we look at the FinViz heat map, let's start off with the broader market. So first off, if we take a look at the heat map today, it wasn't necessarily a day where everything moved together, because you do got a little bit of a mixed story with all of the different sectors we have here. So, for example, if you take a look at semiconductors in the technology sector, you're going to see here that it was pretty green on the day. You're going to see here that NVIDIA was green. AMD had a very strong day, up over 5% on the day. Micron, it exploded nearly 10%. And let's see what else. Intel as well was also up over 10%. They were up 11%, 11.19% on the day. And Broadcom as well, ticker symbol AVGO, was very green on the day as well. Now, when you look at some of the other bigger names as well, like for example, this is also in the technology sector, but if you look at in consumer electronics, Apple, for example, you're going to see that they were down almost 2% on the day, and Amazon slightly lower. When I say slightly lower, I'm not saying it had a worse day compared to Apple, but a smaller loss on the day, pretty much flat, almost break even, just over a 0.3% loss, 0.33% on the day. So what that's showing me, and how you should be reading it as well, is the money wasn't flowing into technology broadly. And you're going to be seeing here that even though the technology overall had a mixed sentiment, it wasn't just in the technology sector. The ones that had the best day today was semiconductors. And another thing that we're going to be looking at as well is take a look at the treasury yields in the bonds. So if we look at the bonds over here, you're going to be seeing here that the US 10-year treasury yield did have a green day. It did rise, and it's sitting around 4.57% on the day. And higher yields definitely do pressure. They apply more pressure on growth stocks. But again, this is all hypothetical, and not everything is necessarily black and white, because even though growth stocks like NVIDIA and other semiconductor stocks, they did experience a very green day. So hypothetically, and the way it's supposed to work is it is supposed to put pressure on them, but that's not always the case. Now, another quick look as we look at oil. Let's take a look at oil for a second. So they had a green day. Well, they're unchanged at the moment. Excuse me, guys. They were unchanged at the moment, but they were green on the day, and they are still hovering around. They're hovering around the $91 to $92 per barrel. So as you do see here, as we are with these elevated prices for oil, there are still going to be the concerns relating to inflation, which you do see whenever oil prices are at this raised price like they are. And if we do see problems with inflation, if things start to get a little bit sticky again when it comes to it, what investors typically do is they start worrying about the higher rates for a longer period than they would like to, which causes more problems. Now, without getting too much into the broader market, because there's a specific amount of actual main topics I wanted to cover. And the first one I'm going to be covering is none other than what we're going to be discussing with something I have never covered on this channel before, but that's with none other than OpenAI. Now, if we look at the OpenAI and we actually take a look at this article right here, you're going to be seeing that this is one of the biggest stories in the market today, besides the SpaceX IPO as well. OpenAI officially filed a confidential S1 with the SEC. So with that being said, again, you can see it right here highlighted in the article. In simple English, all that means is they started the process for their IPO. So I don't really need to give you guys that much of a rundown with what OpenAI does, because I'm not going to say almost everyone, because there's lots of people that are more new. They're newer and they're at the beginner green phases of their investing journey. So OpenAI is the ones that was responsible for ChatGPT. They were behind it. But ChatGPT is only one piece of the business. That's the thing that's pretty much known mainstream for the most part. But what OpenAI also does is they develop artificial intelligence models that can be used for things like research, coding, business automation, customer service, search, content creation, and enterprise applications. So if you were to think about it a specific way, the best way that I would say you should frame it to get the right idea when it comes to OpenAI is mainly Google. It's helping organize information while OpenAI is trying to build the intelligence on top of information. And a few things, a few important details with the article that was stating is that according to CNBC, what you're seeing here is that according to the article, OpenAI is currently valued at about $852 billion. And that would make this one of the largest IPOs ever, not just in tech, but in market history. So we got SpaceX having their IPO this Friday, which is also going to be one of the biggest IPOs in market history. But we also got another article talking about IPO. So things are moving pretty fast in the growth sectors with everything related to artificial intelligence. Now, a crazy statistic that I do want to give you guys is one thing that jumped out to me is that ChatGPT, let me try to find it for you. Yeah, right here. ChatGPT, and now supports more than 900 million weekly active users. That's a crazy number, guys. And I want you to think about that for a second, is the fact that 900 million people every single week open up their iPhone and they look, or on their desktop as well, because you can use ChatGPT on desktop, but they open up their applications and they use ChatGPT for whatever it is that they have problems with, because ChatGPT is used for a broad variety amount of reasons. It could be used for questions like me relating to how to grow your YouTube channel. It could be used for stock market related questions. It could be used for helping you with school. It could be used to help you build a workout regimen. There's so many uses for ChatGPT, and it does it at an even better rate than what Google did. So I just want you to understand how mainstream ChatGPT is becoming and how big this is for the company OpenAI. And getting from a little more of a stock market perspective, and what I mean by a little bit more of a stock market perspective, let's start to weigh in the bull and the bear thesis and the bear cases, the bull and the bear cases for OpenAI. So when it comes to the more optimistic side of things, where investors are more bullish on the company, it's pretty simple, because AI adoption continues growing, enterprise spending continues growing, there's more businesses that are integrating artificial intelligence as well. It's becoming something that's going to be used more frequently among businesses. And along with that, OpenAI is one of the biggest players in the entire industry. They're big boys in the AI market. Now, let's flip that. because not everybody has the same thought process when it comes to artificial intelligence. There's still plenty of people that are bearish when it comes to OpenAI, because as I mention all the time, we don't marry stocks on this channel, and we always do things to the best of our ability with our emotions at the side and with a unbiased approach when it comes to this. So according to CNBC, the risk that I want to be talking about to you is the fact that it has raised over $180 billion in funding. Let me see if I can find where it said that right there. Yeah, right here. So OpenAI has raised more than $180 billion in funding. And the company, it's still spending enormous amounts of money on infrastructure, data, and model training. And again, guys, thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate the support. Now, eventually, investors, they're still going to want to know one thing. Can OpenAI generate enough profit to justify an $850 billion valuation? That's the question that you should be asking, and a lot of investors are asking right now. And for those of you in attendance, I'd love to know what you guys think. If OpenAI had their IPO tomorrow, for example, it's not having it, but if they did, would you buy it? Drop it in the chat, yes or no, guys. Now, next thing that I want to cover is none other than what everyone's anxiously waiting for this upcoming Friday, and that is the SpaceX preparing to have their initial public offering. Again, they're about to be on the public market this Friday, June 12th. And again, I said it earlier in the live stream, but what seemed interesting to me was the timing, especially how OpenAI files, and not just OpenAI, you got also Anthropic that filed, and now SpaceX is launching its roadshow as well, all within a very short time frame, a very short window. So this kind of, in a way, it feels like an IPO arms race if you think about it, because if you look at the companies, everybody filing an IPO, having their roadshow, all those things that I'm mentioning, you got SpaceX, OpenAI, Anthropic. These guys, these companies, they're three of the largest private companies in the world right now, and all potentially competing for investor capital. They want to see, they're basically competing to see which of these three companies investors believe from both the retail and especially the institutional perspective are going to get their hard-earned capital. And I want to know what you guys think. Do you believe, which of these three companies do you think is going to win in this potential arms IPO race? Again, this is all hypothetical. There's nothing obviously going to state something like this, but I'm just saying it does feel that way when you look at it with the timing of everyone filing for their IPO. Now, what I want to also get at is the fact that the reason that this matters isn't just because of SpaceX alone. SpaceX, again, as you know, is just one company. It's because, as we know, the space sector is booming right now, and it's becoming highly popular. It's becoming more and more popular as the months go by. And when a company that's as important as SpaceX becomes publicly traded, millions of investors, millions of investors suddenly start paying attention to the space economy. Not like there hasn't been enough people paying attention to already, but I don't think there's ever going to be enough. A company's not going to say, hey, we've already had millions of people that's already seen us. No, they're going to want more. They're going to want even more millions of people to continue to watch them, continue to get eyes on them, and they want to continue gaining attention from institutional and retail investors, especially the ones that have heavy amounts of capital to invest in. And when we take into consideration all of these space companies, I'm talking about the bullish case it's pretty simple. There's going to be more attention, more institutional coverage, more analyst coverage, and you're also going to be seeing things like more investors researching space stocks and just getting curious. Again, there's just going to be more eyes on the stock as a whole. Now, again, even though I would say I would be more on the optimistic and bullish side of things when it comes to space stocks, that doesn't mean that everyone agrees with me. And it is pretty simple. And let's just pull up one space stock. Why not? Shout out to the Prophecy AI app and Claude giving it a 1-year bullish projection, price target of $29.59. But again, tying back to what I was saying, not everybody is going to be on the same page as you with your investing thesis and the companies on your watch list. The bear case is that some investors may sell other space stocks in order to buy SpaceX directly. And to me, that's not really that bearish. That's not a bearish data point in my opinion. But as all of you know, for the most part, when it comes to it, there's going to be plenty of people when they see major sell-off. Again, there's plenty of people that invest into the stock market and trade that they just see bearish price action. They see blood in the market and they immediately go with the rest of the herd. They're just like sheep in the cattle and they just follow everyone else and they just sell just because there's a lot of selling activity. It makes no sense to me because when I see selling activity, I get excited thinking that I can buy at a cheaper price. But there's plenty of people when they see bearish selling activity, they just sell off and panic as well. So as of right now, from the data that I recovered looking at the SpaceX IPO and overall just looking at the whole space sector, I don't really see a whole lot of bearish data points too much. I mean, obviously, you got to worry about the business, if it's going to be profitable, how much are they going to incur, are they getting contracts, is their backlog growing, is it diminishing? You got to worry about all those things. But again, the most bearish data point that investors take into consideration right now is just, is there going to be a major sell-off in space stocks? That's the biggest concern that I've seen among investors. And my personal opinion, again, I lean toward SpaceX in the long term because there's probably going to be massive sell-off in the short term, but in the long term, I do view it as a positive, a net positive in my opinion. Now, first and foremost, a company I haven't talked about within a while, but I will be making a video about it tomorrow with regarding the SpaceX IPO, is Rocket Lab. Now, just a quick summary of Rocket Lab is it's probably the most obvious company investors compare when it comes to SpaceX. And they're not even close to the same size, not even close, but many investors, I do see them viewing Rocket Lab as the strongest publicly traded pure play space company. And why is that? Well, mostly because of the price action, the share price itself. Again, right now, Rocket Lab it closed the day at $113.65. It had a bullish day. It had a green day, a gain of 3.24%. And again, their all-time highs are at $151 as of right now. Now, again, I really do my best. In fact, I don't really think I have this issue at all. I'm not one of the people that views a company like Rocket Lab or even Nvidia and sees a higher price action or a higher share price all time and thinks, oh, that company is amazing, I'm going to invest in it. Because not just because the share price of a company raises doesn't mean it's the best company. Not saying that Rocket Lab is a bad company. It is a very good company. I'm just trying to get into people's heads that the share price of a company alone does not necessarily, I mean, obviously, the value of a stock, all it is basically the perception that institutional and retail investors view it as. If people believe that Rocket Lab should be valued at $151, obviously people are going to buy more of it. And if people think that Rocket Lab is a horrible company, and what people as a whole, institutions and retail are going to start doing is they're going to start selling and bring it even lower to, previous levels of support, like $60, for example, things like that. And again, what I'm trying to get into your guys' heads is that share price and price action alone is not the only things to take into consideration, because there's plenty of companies we have seen out there in this community that we've seen the share price skyrocket up, and we've also seen the share price go down, and we've seen we've seen companies be held down at lower prices than people believe it should be at, even though the business continues to grow quarter over quarter and year over year. You got to look at the whole picture other than just the price action. And the bull case scenarios and the bullish thesis when it comes to Rocket Lab is the fact that a few data points for is they have launch services, space systems, government contracts, and Neutron remains one of the biggest catalysts in the sector right now. Now, again, don't marry stock, flip it on the bear case. What is that when we take the risk into consideration? Again, the company still has to execute. There's still risks relating to that, and investors are expecting a ton. They're expecting a lot from Neutron. And as me and you both know, because let's take a look at NVIDIA for a second. How many good quarterly reports have we seen from NVIDIA? And we see it go, and we see it make the whole entire stock market stagnate the week of its earnings report. And they have a great quarterly. But still, the stock market crash. I mean, we've been slowly climbing higher relative to other stocks, but we were in this price action where we were stuck between 180 to 200 bucks for quite some time, and then we shot up, shot back down, and now we have a actual look above, and we're actually holding above these higher levels, and now the previous levels of resistance have now become support, and it is starting to look better from a price action perspective. But how many times have you seen the quarterly reports make the stock go down even though the quarterly was good? That mainly has to do with the ridiculous expectations that NVIDIA have, that even though it's good, in the mind of institutions, it's not good enough. Now, next company I want to talk about is going to be none other than Redwire, ticker symbol RDW. Now, again, shout out to Redwire. 1 year projection, $21.47, gain of 47 cents, and a yearly gain of 16.5%. Now, we had some interesting news come out for Redwire, and I just covered it in a video I posted earlier today. Now, what we saw here is Redwire. It was awarded a contract from an Astrobiome Space to launch inaugural space agriculture mission in world's first commercial space greenhouse. So again, basically summarizing what this said in simple terms, a lot of people, again, it's pretty interesting the fact that Redwire, they're actually trying to do things and find ways to grow food in outer space. That is a pretty interesting thing. And shout out to you, Crazy Carl. Let me see what you wrote in the comments section. 1 second, my man. So since I own all these stocks long term, I've been adding my position at these prices. Do you feel that these can go even further down? I'm going to say in the short term, probably they will go down due to the IPO, because historically what we see with IPOs is major sell-offs. Now, Carl, if you are a long-term bag holder for these companies, because I do think, relatively speaking, we're in the earlier stages when it comes to space stocks, and the space stocks themselves are going to continue to improve as time goes on, in my opinion. I'm not telling you what you do with your money. I'm not telling you to buy, sell, or hold. All I'm saying is, summarizing what I'm saying, short term, they probably will be sell-off, but in the long term, most likely we will see some upside gain. That's all I will say for you, man. Now, let me see here 1 second. So, summarizing a few data points that I have for you. And again, thank you for the comment, Carl. I appreciate the support. But the goal basically that they stated in this article is the fact that they want to launch the world's first commercial space greenhouse. So that means, basically in simple terms, they're talking about growing food in space, you know, things like strawberries. And then they're also going to be doing things like relating to space agriculture and International Space Station research. So those are all interesting data points for Redwire. And if you didn't check out the video before that I posted earlier relating to these space stocks, please check that out. Again, I posted it probably like 3 hours ago, give or take. And a few bullish and bear cases when it comes to Redwire itself. The bull case for it is they take into consideration the space manufacturing, the space infrastructure, and their exposure to defense, because even though it's mainly known as a space company, they still do have heavy amounts of exposure, and they're positioned well within the defense market. And the bear case, overall, in simple terms, all I'll say is investors still want to see stronger margins and profitability. And what I'm personally watching, for me, again, this is just my humble opinion, I'm watching to see what management does, and if management continues growing revenue while margins, can they improve as well alongside it? Now, next company is going to be none other than BlackSky. And BlackSky operates in one of the most growing areas of space that has to do with satellite intelligence. And because again, I've been talking a lot about space stocks right now, so let me just get into the bull and the bear case with it, because Shout out if Hano Biggie is in the chat right now. Thank you. I did cover Black Sky in the previous live stream I did, and I also did a video on Black Sky. So feel free to check that out in the previous videos in the past. It was last Saturday is when I posted it. But a quick summary of the bull and the bear cases for this stock is there's growing defense spending, growing demand for intelligence gathering, and growing demand for geopolitical data. And the bear case is pretty much the same as everything else. Can management execute, and can they continue to win contracts? Those are the most critical things for Black Sky. Now, transitioning from space stocks, I want to ask a specific question. And thank you, Alicia. I appreciate the support in the comment section. I want to know. Well, actually, no. This isn't the part where I'm going to ask you a question. I want to give a takeaway real quick. Because for years, they've been waiting for major IPOs. And now we got 3 in the headlines right now. With Anthropic, OpenAI, and SpaceX. And SpaceX is going to be the most, not the most recent, but the one that's going to have their IPO in the shortest term, as it's going to be happening on Friday. Because potentially what this is showing is that the public markets, or that these 3 stocks, they're really fighting for their the capital of investors due to the fact with the timing we've seen of all these IPO filings as of recent. And any questions that you guys have, like for example, I want to know, even for you, Carl, if you want to let me know, or anybody in the comment section, please let me know what stocks you're buying. Are you very anxious right now with what's going to be happening this Friday? Are you going to be looking more into defense spend? Are you going to be looking more into defense stocks? How do you guys feel about the IPOs and the filings that have happened in such a recent amount of time, back to back to back? Please let me know in the comment section, as I love getting y'all's input. And which one of these companies, which IPO, which one of these companies do you feel you are the most excited about? I don't really have one. Again, I would say it's more of a tie for me personally between OpenAI and SpaceX. But nevertheless, I still am excited for all 3. And what I'm going to be watching tomorrow personally is I'll be watching to see how the SpaceX IPO develops, any developments relating to that over the course of this week. And I also will be doing a live stream at Market Open. I'll probably start a little bit before, around 9 o'clock to 9:15, give or take. And I'm going to be covering what happens on the IPO. I'm excited to do that. It's going to be my first ever initial public offering live stream I'll be doing at Market Open. And also, I'm going to be checking on the typical things that we usually do on this channel, which is relating to treasury yields. To see it, I want to also see if we can have another very bullish day in the semiconductor sector. And I'm also going to be looking at the individual space stocks like Rocket Lab, Redwire, Black Sky, even Intuitive Machines, which we didn't cover too much in this live stream right now. And I'm also just going to be looking for any more news develops, any more PR relating to space stocks and semiconductors this week. Because, again, everything else pretty much is the same with the stocks we typically cover, like CTM, which I know is something you all get very excited for. Getting close the day at 71 cents. BBAI also still around the same price. You got, what else is there? LAES, COSQ, also around the same price level, same price action. Nothing too significant that happened. Has there been any more PR for COSQ? Let's check that out, because I know for a fact LAES had a lot of PR recently. Let me just see to make sure I didn't miss anything today. If I did, I'll make sure I make another video about it. Let me see. Recent news. Check that. Investor news releases. Last one was June 5th. Let's see if it's June 5th. The only reason I'm saying is because it felt like almost every day I felt like I missed something. Oh, there you go, Crazy Carl. So I was very early shout out to you at Crazy Carl. I was very early getting into Black Sky, LUNR, Redwire, Rocket Lab. So I'm still very green in the portfolio. I'm just looking to add more. Profit loss, I'm waiting to finally start a long position. Did you mean to say PS there? Or is that supposed to say profit loss? Well, PL, I'm waiting to finally start a long position. So if you were very early in the position, Carl, again, shout out to you if you did, because there's some people like Will, if I'm not mistaken, like Will Rich, you know, somebody I've done someone that I'm associated with, again, good friend of mine, and he's been covering it ever since. I don't know if it was around $20 or if it was under $20, but I know that he did cover it, you know, when it was at a much cheaper share price than it is now. And Planet Lab, sorry about that. So yeah, I haven't really been paying attention to Planet Lab actually. You got any insights for me, Carl, regarding Planet Lab? Because I haven't, like, I cover space stocks, but the ones that I've been focusing and that have been on my watch list during the live stream have been Redwire. I've done Black Sky. I did a little bit of Intuitive Machines, and you know, now everything that's developing with SpaceX and the IPO coming this Friday. I can make a video for you, and you know what, actually for you, Carl, since you just mentioned to me right now, and this week is going to be mostly themed around the SpaceX IPO and space stocks individually, I'll make a video on Planet Labs for you. Again, I'll have to go back. I'll do just a very basic summary. I'll look at the previous quarterlies, their 10K. I'll also take a look at any recent news that happened for Planet Labs. So shout out to you, Carl, for giving me the idea. And thank you for correcting me. Thank you for correcting me that that's not Planet Lab, or that's not Profit Loss, that's Planet Lab. But again, shout out to you. I'll make a video on you for that. Let me see if there's any recent news. Investor relations. No problem, Carl. So shout out. Anything recent? Hold on. Let me just look recent news. Check this out. Recent news. I kind of like doing these live streams because it's a lot different than just my regular videos. Kind of makes me... I like how I can get called out in real time. Not called out, not like you were disrespecting me or anything, Carl, but I like how I can correct myself in real time. It really helps me improve my skills as a content creator. So shout out to you, Carl. Now let me see. So yeah, we did have some recent developments. It does say, oh yeah, Planet reports financial results for first quarter. Okay, so they had their Q1 quarterly report. Let's take a look at that real quick, Carl. Let's see some of the highlights. And again, I'm just gonna do a quick run through what we're seeing here. So again, thank you, Carl. And if you're looking to start up a long-term position, let's look at the price action itself. So yeah, I would say now with how we're dipping too, because we're dipping all the way to $32.74 from the all-time highs at $51.76. So obviously in this instance right now, because we have seen a broad sell-off in the whole space sector. Excuse me, Carl. We have seen a broader sell-off in the space sector. Especially with Planet Lab individually from the all-time highs at $51.76. Again, we've had almost a $20 drop on the stock. Well, we have had as much as a $20.10 drop on the stock as of recently within a 7-day period. So you obviously in this instance wouldn't be one of the FOMO buyers buying around the all-time highs. So I would say this would be more of an appropriate time to start your long-term position. Because again, if you have capital on hand, you have cash on hand to take advantage of opportunities like this. Because I would say, if you do have a thesis that is bullish long-term for the company Planet Lab, and you see, like here, let's look at what the quarterly report said. So again, it has record quarterly revenue right there. So again, that's an improvement from the business side of things. It's up 42% year over year. A few other developments. It says they successfully launched 3 Pelican satellites. And their cash and cash equivalents and short-term investments increased over 223% year over year to $731 million. So that's a pretty big balance right there. So profits is still showing bullish for the next week with mixed signals. Let's take a look at that. So for you personally, because again, that is a good way to use the Prophecy AI app. Let me know, Carl, are you using Prophecy oh wait, I'm on Redwire still, my bad. But are you using Prophecy as a way to find yourself to get into the, what would I say? Are you using it as a way to find the best price level to get at to start your long-term investments? I want to know that. And let me just look at the 1 week projection. So next week, no, it's saying right now Claude is saying that it's got a 1 week bullish projection with a gain of 4.8%. The price target would be $34.33 at the moment. So it would be a small gain within a 1 week period. And yeah, so it has mixed signals. Let's look at the other AI models. Let's check Grok and OpenAI too. So Grok, oh, is this buffering? Is my screen buffering? Okay, yeah. So Grok, it does have a pretty bearish expectation, $30.07. Let's check OpenAI. What do they got? What do they got? Let's see. So yeah, I see what you mean now. There are some mixed signals with the stock. Okay, OpenAI, they also have some bearish expectations. So is Claude the only one that's bullish, or was that just a... Yeah, it's looking like Claude is the one that's bullish. Huh. How about Gemini and Meta? Okay. So I'm not surprised that there are mixed signals, especially with everything going on with all the developments in space and the IPO coming out this Friday. Okay, so no, Gemini, I am on Gemini. Yeah, Gemini right now also has bearish expectations. So depending on what is you're expecting, because if you are looking to start a long-term position, again, this is not financial advice, and I'm not telling you what to do with your hard-earned capital. All I'm saying is if you were to buy tomorrow, if we stayed around this price level, I wouldn't necessarily say that's an inappropriate time to start investing your hard-earned capital for a long-term position in Planet Labs. The only thing I'm saying is if you want to get in at a lower position, because again, right now is a good time. It's a dip of $20. That's a dip of $20. And how much will we be down on the week? Let me check my Robinhood portfolio real quick on my phone. Let me just pull up my phone real quick. So if I look at Planet Lab. So yeah, so Planet Lab, yeah, we're down in the past week. We're down 34% on the week. So after a 34% loss in just a 1 week period, with the price levels that we're at right now, I wouldn't say it's necessarily a bad thing if you were to buy. But if you want to get it even at a lower price, again, don't go too without being too inappropriate and keeping it professional. Don't go too ballsy with just going all in with it. Again, how I would approach this if I was you, I would just buy a little bit right now with any cash I have on hand to capitalize on this opportunity right now. And if I still am bullish with even further dips down, I would probably just buy a little bit more then. I just keep it simple when it comes to my long-term investing on stocks that I do have a bullish long-term thesis with. Hopefully that did help out, Carl, without complicating it too much. But again, I will be doing a video for you later this week, probably Wednesday, with Planet Labs and anything else developing with the SpaceX IPO. So guys, thank you all for hanging out with me tonight. Thank you, Carl, for giving me the input that you did. Again, I love the valued audience and the loyal audience that I have on this channel and the ones that do attend. And remember, don't just follow the headlines, even though there's a lot of exciting things going on in the stocks. You got to also follow the underlying business. And again, some highlights that I'm already seeing with the headlines, not the headlines, but the main point in this PDF for Planet Labs. Again, there are some good financial highlights, regarding revenue and their backlog increasing 72% year over year to 906 million, and cash and cash equivalents and short-term investments increasing 223%. Those are the type of headlines you want to look at, because that's showing that the business is improving and not declining. So with that being said, guys, thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate your support. Stay safe. Keep making good decisions in your long-term portfolios and your broker accounts. And with that being said, guys, I'll see you all in the next video. Stay safe.